Hi, for the today's YouTube video, we're going to discuss about centralized logging system for microservices. I want to explain what is the significance of the logging for microservices. Nowadays, we are building complex applications, medium-sized complex applications, heavyweight applications that involves multiple microservices. Now, when we go for microservices, we may have hundreds or thousands of microservices depending on the project complexity. So we need to provide the proper centralized logging to understand how the request is navigating among multiple microservices. It is very important, right? Millions of people they try to access this application. If the business is very huge and if it is multinational business, you may have the clients in different region. You may have clients in north, US East Zone, US West Zone, or you may have clients in British region, or you may have clients in eastern regions like China or Russia. Wherever you are having the business, you see you need to provide sufficient instances of applications. You need to scale the applications as per the demand. So once you scale the applications, you will have multiple instances of the same applications, and you have to track the each and every request, and you need to store all the request details in a centralized logging mechanism. For example, you take an example. So some users, they are accessing your website from US East Zone or US West Zone. Some people are accessing from Singapore, or you take Japan, any region. How do you know? So how do you know the number of users and as per the region? You want to analyze the statistics, how many users are accessing a website as per the region. So that's where we actually look at the scenario. You see, based on the analytics, we will understand the business functionality and how business is running, and in which region the business is generating revenue. These details are very important, right? So if your application is banking application, you see, and you want to understand the transaction details, and in which region the transactions are very high and which region the transactions are very low, you want to understand that. So to understand the application logic, and to understand the business functionality and how many users are accessing your particular website, so logging mechanism is very important. So logging is the system which actually provides a detailed information about your application health and application usage. And if you get any issues or exceptions or errors, you can also debug the applications, and you can also debug the system, and you see, you can actually understand the how our application is functioning. So okay, centralized logging solution. You see, how do you provide the centralized logging solution? We have many different third-party softwares available in market. You can use any third-party logging software. You can integrate that into your system. You can actually redirect all your logs to some centralized logging server, or you can store these logs in any NoSQL database. Here we are taking a ELK stack, a very popular and standard stack for logging for many years. Most of the companies, they are preferring to use this ELK stack. Even banking and financial application, they prefer to use ELK stack. It is very proven logging framework. where you can actually redirect all the logs and also configure the centralized logging mechanism. You see here, all application service system logs are accessible from one interface. I want to elaborate what is ELK stack. Log stash, ELK. So E for Elasticsearch. So basically, it provides indexing and the logging data, and it simplifies the searching mechanism of the huge volumes of log data. So it is not that easy that you can simply search any information from the log data, high volumes of log data that is going to be generated every day. You see, you want to search the details. So Elasticsearch, what it will do, it actually indexes the data inside the log storage and wherever you store the logs, and it simplifies the searching. It gives the performance when you are searching the data. So that is why Elasticsearch is one of the component in ELK stack. And the other thing is the log stash. Log stash, you need to configure the log stash, right? You have to redirect the logs to centralized server, centralized database. Where do you configure all these things? You will configure all these things in log stash. So log stash is the component where you actually specify all the configurations related to your logging, and what is the log file name, and whether you want to provide any timestamp for the logging details, for any how do you specify the timestamp, format of the timestamp, and where do you want to store this log file, and all these details you can specify in log stash files. Log stash component will be very useful. Kibana is for visualization. Generally you have many other third-party visualization, Prometheus and some other visualizations. So it doesn't matter, you can also generate any interface for visualization. It is not necessary that you should go for some third-party visualization too. Remember one thing, you see here, Kibana is one of the components of the ELK stack, where you can actually see all the details in visualization. It would be very useful for you. You see, all application service and system logs are accessible from one interface. Single dashboard provides application wide view. You can see here. Okay, and you see the simple architecture I'm going to explain. Log stash, you see, it is collecting, parsing and transforming. As I told you, you will have all these configuration details. The main thing is it is to collect and parse and transform all the logs. It is a predefined pre-built component, software log stash component. When we are talking about the component inside the ELK stack, it is a pre-built component, so you don't need to do all the configurations. So minimal configurations are required. So once you configure, you see the log stash can collect, parse, transform all the information. As I told you, Elasticsearch is for store, indexing the data and searching the details. You can see here. Okay, and analyze, visualize, monitor. You see here, Kibana is for visualization. So you need to analyze the data. You can visualize. You can monitor the data. Okay, all these details are there. So that is about centralized logging, and best practices are, you need to use a correlation IDs in services. Whenever you are going for microservices, you need to have a correlation IDs. For every request, we will have a request ID, transaction IDs and spawn IDs. These are very important in order to tag the request, right? So having a correlation ID will help in tracking the request which are hopping to different services. As I told you, you need to remember that, and you need to add the structure to the log. As I told you, you need to provide the proper format, whether timestamp is required and which format you want to display all the logs. You need to provide the structure. Whenever these are the best practices. you need to provide. If you don't give the timestamp, right, you don't know when this particular log is generated. How do you know? You will get to know only by the timestamp. You need to understand, and you need to specify the application name. You need to provide the correlation ID. Okay, if the request is spawning to multiple subprocesses, you can also generate the spawn IDs. Okay, you have to include only relevant logs. You don't need to specify all the info logs, so, unnecessary junk information. You don't need to provide it. So you need to only specify how the request is navigating. Let's say if the request is coming to controller, and from there how it is navigating the service, and how it is and which kind of component is being invoked by this particular request. You need to specify all those details. And after that, if you get any issues or exceptions, in general I will catch the exception details and provide the exception details also. So centralized logging is very important thing. You need to understand that when you are dealing with logging mechanism. Okay, I just wanted to explain some the coding part. You can see here we have a dependency. You can see we are using the dependency net.logstash.logback. Group ID, artifact is logstash. You have to configure the structure for logging. So here you can see this is a logback-spring.xml file. You have to place this under resources folder. This is a configuration file. You can see how we are specifying here. We are using console appender class. You can see there are many classes available, because for each pattern there are different console appenders are available. Okay, you need to pick or choose different console appenders, different these classes, predefined classes are there. Based on the pattern that you are expecting, you have to use the particular class there. And then you see here we are going to use another logstash TCP socket appender. Okay, this is another appender. And what kind of logs we need? We need info logs. We're going to print the console and logstash. Okay, this is a simple basic example of the logstash so configuration. Okay, logging configuration. You are going to provide the pattern of the logging format that we are going to use. You need to specify the pattern for your logging format, and also what are all the different appenders, logging appenders that you are going to use. There are so many predefined appenders are there. You have to provide the structure for your logging information. Okay, and so generally you have to implement the distributed tracing. If it is a distributed application, nowadays most of the applications are distributed applications, because based on the demand, the development teams, they're designing the distributed architecture because they want to scale the microservices based on the demand, user demand and the request, right? So most of the applications architectures are distributed applications, distributed architecture. So then you need to implement the distributed tracing. You have to see here central logging. Central logging is a very good approach. Even if your architecture of the application is a distributed system, you can actually route all the logs to specific centralized logging server, and you can store them there. Okay, you can use the Spring Cloud Sloth. This is the Spring provided feature for distributed logging mechanism, micrometer tracing. Other thing is asynchronous logging. You see here, most of the applications will have synchronous communications. In case if they have asynchronous communications, So you need to log all the aspects, whether it is synchronous communication, asynchronous communication. Asynchronous logging is, it is a kind of event driven architecture where you publish logs into queues, and then other side the consumer will consume the logs. Okay. So why do we go for this? Because sometimes the synchronous logging approach may consume the lot of CPU. It may hit the performance issues, so you may face the latency related issues because of the heavy logging framework. Then you can actually build a synchronous logging mechanism. Say if your application is is a heavyweight application, multiple microservices are there, and how do you implement the logging? If you implement the logging in a synchronous approach, let's say when the request is propagating among the multiple microservices, you're going to print each and every in and out paths, right? How the request is entering and how the request is leaving particular method or function. You have to provide this log details, right? They're all synchronous. So because of these logs, if your application is getting a performance issue, then it would be a problem for you. So then you need to adapt, or you need to choose for a asynchronous logging system. So asynchronous logging system is very simple. You just fire and forget scenario. You see here, you will just publish the message, and you don't need to bother about whether the particular message is printed, how it is printed. You're just going to publish the log into some queue at the topic, and other side you can write another application. Okay, you don't need to integrate that particular logging processing related logic in your application. You can have another applications where it will have a lot of consumers, and they'll read the logs from the queue or topic, and they process the logs. Okay, and they'll store the logs and standardize metadata fields. So you have to provide the metadata for a logging. It is very important, right? So some of the visualization tools, they will index based on the metadata. So you need to provide the environment name and service name, version, exception class. These are very important. You should be very precise and specific when you are printing a log information. It would be so helpful for you. And most of the visualization tools, they'll actually index based on the keywords, and they'll represent the visualization of the logging in a detailed manner, so understandable manner, user friendly manner, right? So it is very important. Mask sensitive personal information. So when we are talking about banking and financial applications, it is very important. You cannot print the credit card details or card details or sensitive information like passwords, authorization tokens. If they are banking and financial systems, right, the first thing is you have to mask the sensitive information. You should not print the sensitive details as it is on the file, because it may lead to the breaching or exploitation of the system. If anybody exploit or breach your system, they can access these details, and they can use these details for their purpose, right? So you have to take care of these things. So you have to mask sensitive personal information when you are actually creating the logging structure. These are the best practices, common practices when you are actually building distributed centralized logging mechanism or logging system. You have to understand that. Okay, if you want to configure this for specific article, let me know. Okay, you see here there are many logging stacks are available: ELK stack, Grafana, Loki. Even cloud providers are providing different logging mechanisms. You can use that, right? So this is a simple example. I just explained how we actually provide the format and structure, how we use multiple logging appenders for each format. For different formats, different patterns will be available. You need to use the proper logging appenders. So you need to use predefined classes inside your logging configuration files. Okay. And Spring Boot is also providing SL4J, Log4J. Some predefined jar files are available. You can simply auto-wire the logging class, and you can simply print the details. It is very straightforward and simple. If you are going to use the Spring Boot and you can actually do that. I hope you understand that this would be useful for you. Thanks a lot.